She turned over in bed, pulling the covers tighter around her, and left both pillows between us untouched. That had become our version of intimacy. Two unused pillows in the center, like a DMZ carved into the mattress. I used to trace her shoulder with my fingers, memorize the shape of her spine in the dark. Now I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan cutting slow circles into the silence, wondering how we got here. Morning started the same. I'd wake up before the alarm, make coffee, iron her work clothes. She wouldn't say much, just scroll through her phone, thumb tapping absently, the blue-white glow lighting up her face like a ghost. She always placed its screen down when I was near. I stopped asking questions. The answers never matched the truth. I worked with my hands. HVAC installs mostly, sometimes concrete when the union was slow. I'd come home covered in drywall dust or grease, body sore, boots heavy. She'd barely look up when I walked through the door. Dinner was often leftovers or nothing at all. I still made enough for two, out of habit. Then I'd eat alone, fork scraping porcelain while she laughed into her phone from the hallway. The first time she said, "Not tonight." It was soft, apologetic even. Long day, headache, work stuff. The second time was more dismissive. By the fifth or sixth, she didn't even turn her head. Just a sigh and a shift in the sheets. I stopped reaching. She never said, "I don't love you anymore." That would have been something. Instead, it was quiet neglect, emotional erosion, death by 1,000 sighs. And still, she'd ask for things. Money. Gas. Could I fix her brakes? Could I transfer $300? Just until Friday. Always with a smile, like a waitress who knows the tip's coming. One Friday, I came home early. Picked up steaks. Lit candles. Cleaned the kitchen. She walked in, glanced at the table, and said she already ate. Walked straight to the bedroom, phone in hand. I ate alone. The candles burned down to puddles. That night, I lay next to her in the dark. Two pillows between us. Her back to me. I asked her if she still wanted this, us. She didn't answer. Just reached for her phone and muttered something about being tired. I stared at the wall until I saw dawn breaking through the blinds. Saturday morning, I found her at the counter. Cup of tea in hand, robe loose at the shoulder. I hadn't said a word, hadn't even looked at her, and she asked, "Can you Venmo me for my nails? They raised the price again." I said nothing, just watched the phone light up her face as she scrolled. Her lips pursed in a way I used to find cute. Now it just looked like indifference. I opened my wallet, saw the folded bills, and put it back on the counter. That was the first moment I knew something inside me had started to leave. I hadn't made a decision yet, but the fuse was lit. I just watched her walk out the door, latte in one hand, keys in the other. She didn't say goodbye, and that silence was louder than anything she could have screamed. Sunday, the sky was low and gray. I sat on the porch with a mug of black coffee and watched the condensation bleed down the sides. She passed behind me on the way to yoga, called out, "Back later," like I was a roommate. She didn't see the gym bag by the door. Or maybe she did and didn't care. Either way, I didn't answer. By noon, I was at the old rec center on Hawthorne, the one with the rusted lockers and no air conditioning. The place reeked of sweat and bleach, honest smells. I moved weights like I was hauling regret out of my body, one rep at a time. I hadn't been here in years. My arms trembled. My lungs burned. But for the first time in months, my mind was quiet. That night, she came home and found me eating chicken and rice from a Tupperware container, still in my gym clothes. She made a face, opened her food delivery app, and flopped onto the couch. "Can you spot me 50? She asked, not looking up. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even look away from the TV. I just said, "Not today." There was a beat of silence, like she'd heard wrong. Then she said, "Seriously?" "Dead serious." She stared, like she was trying to figure out if I was joking. I kept my eyes on the screen. Some rerun from the 2000s. Laugh track echoing into the space between us. She didn't press. Just muttered something under her breath and pulled out her credit card. I didn't ask what she ordered. Mornings changed. Not suddenly. Just enough to feel it in the bones. I was up before the sun most days, lacing my boots while the coffee brewed. She'd still be curled up, back to me, blanket bunched at her hip. 2 pillows between us, untouched. It stopped bothering me. That space was mine now, territory reclaimed. The gym became routine. Second home. The metal clang of weights, the chalky air, the way my reflection changed in the mirror, subtle at first. Shoulders broader, jaw tighter. I was showing up for myself in ways I used to only do for her. At work, I started staying late, volunteering for crap shifts nobody wanted. I didn't mind. It kept my hands busy, my head quiet. Overtime meant more money in the savings I'd stopped telling her about. She noticed, sure, but not right away. Her world was still spinning on the axis of assumption, me orbiting her. Reliable. Predictable. Always there to catch the bill, the tantrum, the empty stare across the dinner table. But I had started stepping aside, letting the weight fall. One night she asked if I wanted to watch something together. Voice sweet, like we hadn't spent the last 2 years as passing ghosts in our own house. I told her I had a certification test to prep for. "Oh, okay," she said. Phone already back in hand, thumb scrolling. Another night, she knocked on the bathroom door while I was shaving. Said she was thinking of getting takeout. Chinese or Thai. "Whatever you want," she added, like she was trying out softness for the first time in years. I looked at her through the mirror. Just a glance. "Already ate," I said. The door clicked shut behind her. Mike, my buddy from the job site, picked up on the shift before I said anything. We were on a lunch break, sitting on the tailgate of his truck, splitting a gas station sandwich. "You're walking different," he said. "Shoulders up. Eyes clearer. What's going on?" "Stop bleeding for someone who never noticed," I said. He let out a low whistle and nodded. "Took you long enough, brother." She started dressing nicer around the house. Hair done, makeup on, even when she wasn't going anywhere. I came home one evening and the dining table was set for 2. Wine glasses. Real plates. A candle half burned. "Figured we could eat together for once," she said, tone light. I looked at the table, then at her. Her phone was nowhere in sight. That was new. But I wasn't hungry. I'd eaten hours ago at the diner near the job. Bacon and eggs and peas. "Looks good," I said, hanging my jacket. "Maybe another night." She didn't speak for a long second. Just sat down at the table alone. Dinner for 2. 1 chair filled. That became the new pattern, her reaching, me stepping aside. Not to hurt her. I wasn't playing games. I was just done dancing for scraps. Done fighting for a smile. The money asks kept coming, though. Light at first. Casual. "Can you transfer 100? Rent's tight. Need gas. Mind sending a little?" I stopped replying. Let her sit with the silence. One night, I came home to find her standing by the door, waiting. She held out her phone. The screen showed a transfer request. "Just 50, she said. "It'll bounce otherwise." I looked at the phone, then looked at her. "Not today." The words landed like ice in her glass. She lowered the phone, lips tight. "You're being Difficult lately? No, I said. I'm just not being used lately. Big difference. I stepped past her, boots thudding against hardwood, and headed for the shower. Left her standing there, phone dimming in her hand. Steam filled the mirror as I scrubbed off the day. Outside the door, the house was silent except for the hum of the fridge and the wind tapping the window panes. When I stepped out, towel around my waist, I passed by her on the couch. She didn't say a word, just stared ahead, two pillows under her arms, like a child clinging to comfort. And in that stillness, I realized something. She wasn't confused. She wasn't hurt. She was surprised. That night, I slept like I hadn't in months. Deep, dreamless. The bed still felt cold, still divided. But it didn't sting like it used to. It just felt like reality. Monday, I skipped breakfast. Left early. Put in for extra shifts. Ate lunch in my truck and transferred the cash to savings. Every dollar had started to matter again. Not because I needed it, but because she didn't deserve it. By the end of the week, I'd fixed the brakes on my truck, opened a new checking account, and signed up for a night class at the community college. HVAC certifications. Just a couple more, and I could go independent. She noticed. Of course she did. Where have you been? She asked one night as I dropped my boots by the door. Busy, I said. Her voice dipped into something almost playful. You working on a secret life? I shrugged. Working on something. The shift was subtle, but I felt it. She started watching me more. Noticing the receipts. The protein containers in the pantry. The fact that I no longer waited for her to come home before eating. Sometimes, I wouldn't come home until after she was asleep. She tried to pull me in with small things. Her tone softened. She wore makeup to dinner one night. Said she'd been thinking we should take a weekend trip soon. I nodded politely. Maybe. Then Thursday came. We were in bed. She turned slightly toward me, for the first time in weeks. Her hand brushed mine under the sheets. Her voice was low. You awake? I waited a beat. Then evenly I said, Not today. And I turned over, letting the quiet settle in like a final word. By the time fall rolled in, I had a rhythm. Work, gym, quiet dinners. I'd eat by the window some nights, watching the porch light flicker against the wind. She'd be in the bedroom, door cracked just enough to prove nothing was happening and they're worth hiding. She was home more. That was the first real shift. Less going out with the girls. Fewer mysterious errands. Her yoga mat stayed rolled in the corner. Even the lock screen on her phone, always glowing, always buzzing, was dimmer now. Sometimes I'd catch her just staring at it, thumb hovering, like she was waiting for someone who'd stopped waiting for her. I didn't ask. My wallet stayed in my coat pocket. Cash folded tight, card untouched. She noticed. The request slowed, then stopped. I never said no again, because she stopped giving me the chance. That was the beginning of her silence. We still shared a bed, but we didn't share sleep. I'd wake to find her curled on her side, facing me now, not the wall. Her eyes half open, studying my face like a stranger's. I'd lie still, breathing steady, waiting for the moment she'd close her eyes again and pretend none of this was unraveling. One Saturday, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. Same face, same callous hands, but something had burned off. Whatever softness I'd carried in my eyes, it was gone. In its place was something cleaner, harder, not cruel, just finished. She walked up behind me, still in her robe, holding her coffee with both hands like it was armor. She looked at me through the glass. You've changed, she said. I nodded. Yeah. She waited, maybe for reassurance. maybe for some version of me to return. I kept looking in the mirror. I liked who you were, she added. I didn't, I replied. That one stuck. Later that week, I found a note in the kitchen. Just her handwriting on a post-it, stuck to the fridge. Miss talking to you. Can we have dinner tonight? I stared at it. Didn't move it. Didn't reply. That night, she made pasta. Real effort. Plate set, wine poured, music playing softly like the early days. She wore that red dress, the one from our 5th anniversary dinner. I hadn't seen it in years. I ate. Quietly. She asked about work. I answered. She smiled too wide, laughed too loudly, kept touching my hand, my wrist, the inside of my arm. It all felt like a play we'd both forgotten the lines to. After dinner, she leaned in across the table, eyes soft. I miss us, she said. I looked at my empty plate, then at her. You miss who I used to be for you. Her face stiffened. She tried to recover. I think we've lost something. You lost something, I corrected. I just stopped pretending it was still there. Her shoulders dropped. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just nodded, like she was finally catching up to the truth I'd been living with for months. That night, she reached for me again in bed. Hand on my chest, lips at my shoulder. You still want me? She whispered. I looked at the ceiling for a long time before answering. Not today. Her hand slipped away. The space between us opened again, wide and clean. And this time, I didn't mourn it. October came in cold. That bone-deep kind of chill that makes you start the truck 10 minutes early. I liked it. The air had teeth. Woke you up. Reminded you to breathe deeper. She started waking up when I did. Not fully. Just enough to watch me from the bed as I dressed in the dark. Laced my boots. Filled the thermos. That quiet rustle of flannel and denim had become part of her morning now, like a clock ticking in reverse. I'd glance up, see her watching, and say nothing. Just nod once. She rarely replied. I wasn't cruel. I didn't slam doors or throw words like knives. But I was done performing. Done trying to fill the silence between us with fake warmth or tired routine. I let the cold be what it was. Truth doesn't need a coat. One Sunday, she sat on the couch thumbing through a photo album. The old kind. Real pages. Wedding shots. Trips. A few Polaroids of us from the beach in Carolina. I saw her smile at one of them. Then it dropped. You used to look at me like I was everything, she said without looking up. I rinsed my mug, dried it, set it gently on the counter. You used to be, I said. I didn't wait to see the look on her face. Some things don't need confirming. Later that week, I stayed out past midnight. Not with anyone. Just me, Mike, a pool table, and too much cheap beer. I let him talk. He was worried about his own marriage, something about passwords, and her work husband, who texts after 10. I listened mostly. At the end, he asked if I thought she was cheating. I said, Does it matter if you already don't trust her? He just nodded. Quiet. We didn't need more words than that. When I got home, the porch light was still on. She hadn't done that in years. Inside, I found her asleep on the couch in one of my old hoodies. The kind with the drywall stains and the busted zipper. She never wore my stuff before. Not unless she needed the look for Instagram. This time it wasn't performative. It was cold. She needed warmth. I walked past her, boots soft on the rug. Didn't wake her. Didn't tuck her in. Just went to bed alone. The next morning, I came out to find a fresh coffee waiting on the counter. Black, just how I take it. No note. No apology. Just the offering. She sat at the table in silence, robe tied, eyes puffy. I took the cup and stood there for a moment. "Thank you," I said. She looked like she might cry. But she didn't. Just nodded, like that sliver of acknowledgement was more than she expected. Then she said it. "I miss us." I drank the coffee. Let the silence answer. She stood and walked down the hallway. As she turned the corner, I watched her pass the mirror and pause. She stared at her own reflection, like she didn't recognize what stared back. That's when I knew. She wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the version of herself I used to believe in. That Friday, I came home late again. She had done her hair. Cooked. 2 plates. Napkins folded. Real silverware. Candles. A mirror image of the Friday I'd done for her months ago. The one she skipped. She smiled when I walked in, hopeful, eyes wet. "I made your favorite," she said. I looked at the table. Then at her. "Not today." I walked past her upstairs. She didn't follow. I heard the faint clink of silverware hitting ceramic. The fridge door opening. The quiet thud of leftovers being stored away. Dinner for 2. Again, eaten by 1. She started waking up early, fully this time. Hair done. Light perfume. Coffee waiting. Sometimes eggs, even pancakes. A domestic revival. She moved like she was auditioning for something she'd already been cast in, trying to reclaim a role that had moved on without her. I didn't mention the effort. Just nodded, ate in silence, and washed my own plate. Left hers untouched. By now, the house was cleaner than ever. Towels folded sharp. Pantry organized. Candles lit before I got home. She wore dresses again, soft ones, the kind that swayed when she moved. The same kind she used to wear out for them. Now they were being worn for me. Too late. She lingered near me more. Waiting at the door when I came home. Laughing a little too loud when I told a joke, even if I wasn't trying to be funny. Asking about my day. My schedule. Who I was texting. I stayed polite. But I gave her nothing she didn't earn. That flipped something. Made her chase harder. She started showing up at the gym. Just happened to be near. Hair up. Tight leggings. Smile too bright. She waved once, across the parking lot. I nodded. Got in my truck. Drove off. At home, the shift continued. She started wearing my old t-shirts to bed again. The ones that had my scent, my name stitched into the collar. The 2 pillows between us started to move. One crept closer. Then vanished entirely. She left the space open, an invitation. I didn't feel it. She touched my arm in passing now. Held eye contact longer. Spoke softer. Like the sound of her own voice could pull me back. Like all I needed was a glimpse of who she used to be. But the past doesn't rewind. One night, she sat beside me on the couch. Remote in her hand, flipping channels, waiting for something to catch. Eventually she settled on one of those shows we used to watch, back when we still laughed together. "It's a rerun," she said. "But still good, right?" I didn't answer. Just watched the screen, the reflection of her face flickering in the dark glass. A version of us, frozen. Dated. Fiction. She paused the episode. Turned toward me. "I feel like we're getting back to something." "Don't you?" I met her eyes. They were wide. Hopeful. Scared. I leaned back slowly, exhaled. "No," I said. "You're trying to rewrite history." She blinked. "That's not fair." "It's honest." She stood. Walked down the hallway. Her steps were soft, embarrassed maybe, or just stunned that the chase wasn't working. That the man she used to mold had stepped out of the cast. I didn't follow. Days passed. She left notes now. On the fridge. On the bathroom mirror. Folded under my wallet. Hope today's better. Miss your smile. Let's talk tonight. The ink faded a little each day. She was running out of language. One evening, I came home late. Overtime again. She was in the kitchen wearing red, the same dress as before. Lipstick matched. Perfume I hadn't smelled since she used it to impress strangers. She was plating dinner. Steak. Asparagus. Even my favorite bourbon, neat, waiting in a glass like it used to. When she saw me, her face lit up, like hope got a second wind. I know things have been off, she said, but I wanted to show you I'm trying. I really am. She stepped closer. I want this. Us. I want to come back. I let her finish. I let the silence stretch. Then I picked up the bourbon, took a slow sip, and met her eyes. You don't get to come back to something you walked away from. She swallowed, blinked fast. I didn't mean. I know exactly what you meant. For a long time. She looked down. Her hand rested on the back of a chair like she needed it for balance. What now? She asked quietly. The clock ticked. The fridge hummed. A car passed outside. I set the glass down carefully. Clean. Cold. And said, Now, I leave with my dignity. Then I turned off the kitchen light. The last week I lived in that house, I slept better than I had in years. Not because anything was fixed. Not because things got warm again. But because I'd stopped pretending. The final weight had lifted, the need to convince her of anything. I no longer reached across the silence. No longer hoped for a spark. Just peace. And I had it. The papers had been sitting in the glove box for 3 days. Clean. Undramatic. We didn't own much together, just debt and memories. I'd already made arrangements. New apartment, walking distance to work. Small place. Quiet. Just me and whatever came next. The morning I left, the house was still. She sat at the table in a sweatshirt, eyes swollen, mouth tight. She didn't cry. Not anymore. I dropped my keys on the counter. Wallet in my back pocket, gym bag in hand. My boots thudded slow against the hardwood as I moved to the door. You really doing this? She asked, voice brittle. I paused. Not because I doubted it. Just because I wanted to get the words right. I already did, I said. Her eyes darted. From the counter to the window to my hands, as if trying to find something, some anchor, some sign I was bluffing. I've changed, she whispered. I nodded. So have I. She looked like she wanted to argue. To plead. But the thing is, when someone you've ignored finally walks away, you don't get to ask questions. You just stand there. And watch. I turned the knob. Opened the door. Cold air hit me, clean and sharp. The kind that lets you know you're alive. Behind me, I heard her stand. Her steps were soft. Do you still love me? She asked. It was a good question. One I'd spent months asking myself in every silent meal, every dead glance, every, not tonight, that used to cut like a razor. I turned slightly. Enough to see her standing there, arms wrapped around her ribs, like she was holding herself together. I looked at her, the woman I'd built a life around, who had fed off my loyalty like a faucet left dripping. And I answered calmly, I don't hate you. She closed her eyes. That was all I gave her. The truck started with a low rumble. I didn't look back. Not at the porch. Not at the window. Not at the life we tried to keep alive long after the heartbeat stopped. The odometer ticked. The road opened up. And I drove. At a gas station just outside town, I stopped for black coffee and a pack of gum. I caught my reflection in the window. Tired, sure, but clearer. like the version of me I used to respect had finally shown back up. That night, I unpacked in the new apartment. No photos on the walls. No shared towels. No second toothbrush in the bathroom cup. Just a clean place. A clean start. I ordered takeout, enough for one. Watched a game on mute. Read a chapter from an old paperback I hadn't touched since the wedding. At midnight, I stood by the window. City lights blinking like news signals.